what we expect the outcome of the poll to be.
We'll start with our methodology and our approach. This poll was taken between 14th November to 22nd November 2020. The sample size was 5,199 with a 1.989 margin of error. In total, we polled 84 constituencies out of 275 constituencies in Ghana, representing 31% of total constituencies across the country. Electoral areas. We surveyed or polled in 94 of the 6,272 electoral areas, representing 1.5% of electoral areas across the country. From all these locations, 54 of the constituencies we polled are areas NPP are currently holding. 30 of the constituencies belong to the NDC, which means that 64% of the areas we polled are held by the MPP, and 36% of the areas we polled are held by the NDC. Now, let's see the results from the survey. Now, on the question of the direction of the country, 49.9% of voters in July said the country was heading in the wrong direction, compared to 50.1% who said it was going in the right direction. Currently, in November, 59.6% of voters believe the country is heading in the right direction, with 40.4% saying we're heading in the wrong direction. This represents an improvement on the perspective of voters from that of July 2020 poll. On the approval rating of the president, in July, 54.5% of voters approved the way the president is handling his job. Currently, the approval rating has jumped to 58.1% in November. The disapproval rating is 28% compared to 32.6% in the July poll, but almost that the same percentage saying they have no opinion about his performance. First-time voters. First-time voters now is about 20% of total voters, according to the November poll. This is slightly lower than the July, which was 21.6%. In terms of key issues that matter to voters, in July, economy was number one, followed by jobs and then education. Currently, number one priority for voters is education at 29.4%, followed by economy 26.6% and jobs 20.7%. A slight shift in the numbers in favor of education. On the question of who do you trust to manage the economy, in July, 47.7% of voters believe and trust Nanado to better manage the economy. That number has shot to 55.7% in November. With regards to John Mahama, 37.5% of voters believe he will do a better job in managing the economy than Nanado. It's a slight improvement over the July numbers. Currently, only 6.9% of voters think someone else will do a better job. This was 17.0% in July, which means a slight shift, a big shift from those who are voting for someone else, convincing someone else in managing the economy, which is moved to Nanado. Trust to manage education. In July, 52.7% trusted Nanado to do better to manage education than Mahama. Currently, that number has shot up to 61.3%, a huge jump of almost 9% compared to the July poll. 34.7% of voters think John Mahama will do a better job in July compared to current number of 33.7%. That's a slight decrease in his numbers. When it comes to job situation, currently 56.9% of voters believe Nanado will do a better job in creating jobs compared to 37.1% for John Mahama. That represents an improvement by Nana Addo of close to 9% over the previous poll, whilst John Mahama has slightly improved, but not much. In terms of voters' choice, in July, 46.7% of voters were rooting for Nana Addo to become president, compared to 37.9% for John Mahama, and 15.4% said someone else. Now, currently in November, 50.4% of voters prefer Nana Addo to be the president, compared to 34.9% for John Mahama. 3.8% said someone else, and 3.9% said they will not vote, and then 6.8% are undecided at the moment. They are undecided voters. Now let's look at the demographic of the poll in a bit of detail. Now here we're looking at the gender support for each of the candidates. Now, in July, 45.5% of male backed Nana Addo to be the president, compared to 38.8% for John Mahama, and then 15.8% said someone else. With female, 48.6% of female voters preferred Nana Addo in July, compared to 36.5% for John Mahama in the same period, with 15% preferring someone else. Currently, Nana Addo enjoys 50% support from male voters, compared to 36.1% for John Mahama and 4.1% for someone else. 6.6% of people are undecided, with 3.2% said they will not vote. When it comes to female, 51% of females support Nana Addo to become president, compared to 33.3% for John Mahama. 4% of voters said they will vote someone else. 7% are undecided, and 4.8% of voters, female voters, said they will not vote. Now let's look at how voters voted in 2016 compared to how they intend to vote now. In July, 77% of voters who voted Nana Addo in 2016 were still voting for him. 11% of those who voted for him last time were voting for John Mahama, and 10.8% of voters who voted Nana Addo last time said they were voting someone else. Currently, 77%, or roughly the same, 77.8% of voters who voted for Nana Addo are still voting for him. 11% of people who voted for Nana Addo last time are voting for John Mahama, with 2.9% said they are voting for someone else, 3.2% are not voting, and then 4.9% said they are undecided. Now let's look at John Mahama. Last time, John Mahama was backed by around 84% of voters. Currently, he's backed by 79.6% of people who voted for him last time. 12% or 12.4% of people who voted for Nana Addo Mahama last time are voting for Nana Addo this time, with 4.0% said they are undecided, and approximately 2% or 1.6% said they are not voting, and then 2% are voting for somebody else other than John Mahama. Now, let's look at the marginal constituencies, or the marginal areas that we polled, or marginal constituencies. In July, 45.6% of voters in the marginal constituencies said the country is heading in the right direction, and 54.4% said it was heading in the wrong direction. Currently, 50.8% of voters in the marginal areas think the country is heading in the right direction, an improvement of about 5 percentage points, while 49.2% said we are heading in the wrong direction. That is a slight decrease of about the same percentage point. Now let's look at the approval rating of the president vis-a-vis July and November. In July, 46.1% of voters approved the way Nanado was doing his job, or is doing his job, whilst 34.1% disapprove the way he's doing his job, with 20% of voters saying they have no opinion. Now, just a quick reminder, if you have any question, please put your question in the comment section and we'll respond to them appropriately. Thank you very much. Now, let's look at the President's approval rating according to our recent poll. Currently, 50.6% of voters approve the way the President is handling his job, 36.1% disapprove, and 13.3% have no opinion. This is a marked improvement from July, which stood at 46.1% and 34.1% for disapproval, with 20% of voters saying they have no opinion. Let's look at first-time voters in the marginal areas. In July, it was 26% that were first-time voters. Currently, that number has reduced to 15.4%. In July, top on the list was economy at 38%, followed by jobs 24%, and then education 18.6%. Currently, the top priority for voters in the swing areas remains job at 28.8%, followed closely by education 28.5%, and then jobs 18.5%. Okay, on key issues that matter to voters. In July, top on the list was economy at 28%, followed by jobs 24.1%, and then education at 18.6%. Currently, the November poll shows that the top priority for voters remain economy at 28.8%, followed by education 28.5%, and then jobs at 18.5%. With regards to who is better to manage the economy, 48.6% of voters currently think Nanado will do a better job in managing the economy, compared to 36% that said so in July. That's a huge improvement on Nanado compared to the July poll. On the same issue, 47.4% of voters in the marginal areas in July believe or thought John Mahama was going to do a better job on the economy. Currently, that number is slightly down to 45.3%. On education, Nanado had 49.9% of support from voters in July, and on education, and then John Mahama had 38.1%. Currently, as we speak, that number has jumped to 54.1% for Nanado and 41.2% for John Mahama. Though they've all improved, but Nanado has gone about 50% mark with education. On job situation, in July, Mahama was backed by 47.9% of people in the marginal areas to do better job on job situation, compared to 36.7% for Nanado in the same period. Currently, Nanado leads on that metric. 49.4% of voters in the swing marginal areas believe Nanado will do a better job in job creation than Mahama, who is now on 44.5%. Choice of president. Currently, 45.1% of voters in the marginal areas prefer Nanado to be president, compared to 41.1%. In July, 37.7% of voters wanted Nanado, and 46% or 46.7% wanted John Mahama to be the president. Currently, we've seen a reversal of fortunes in the marginal areas when it comes to choice of president for December elections. Now, with regards to their choices in 2016 compared to now, 75.3% of people who voted Nanado last time are still voting for him. 13.9% of voters who voted for Nanado are now voting for John Mahama. In the case of John Mahama, 82.8% of people who voted for him last time in the marginal areas are still voting for him, and 10.5% of voters who voted for him last time are now voting for John Nanado. Choice by gender. In the marginal areas, 43.1% of male currently want to vote Nanado, compared to 44.6% for John Mahama. In the marginal areas, 47.9% of females are now voting for Nana-Addo, compared to 36.2% for John Mahama. This is a reversal from the July poll, which has Nana-Addo improved significantly. Swing. Now, by swing, we mean Greater Accra, Central Region, Western Region, and Western North put together. We call them swing regions. In the swing regions, currently, 51.7% of voters believe that the country is heading in the right direction, compared to 48.3% who think we're heading in the wrong direction. This is an improvement over the July numbers, which saw only 44.6% saying the country is heading in the right direction, compared to 55.4%. In terms of approval rating, Nana-Addo is now approved by 55.4% of voters in the swing areas, compared to 52% in July poll, a slight 2.4% improvement or 3.4% improvement compared to the last poll. Whereas 30% of voters disapproving. With regards to presidential approval rating, our current poll shows that 55.4% of voters in the swing regions approve the job the president is doing, compared to 52% last July, about 2.4% improvement from July poll. 33.3% of voters disapprove his way of handling his job, compared to 30.6% in July, a worsening case of about 3% or so. Who do they trust to manage the economy better? In July, it was 40% for Nana-Addo and 39% for John Mahama. Currently, it's 51.4% for Nana-Addo and 40.5% for John Mahama. Who do they trust to manage education better? It was 49% for Nana-Addo in July, and currently is 53.5% for Nana-Addo in November. Mahama was 35% in July, it is now 39%. Who is to do a better job in job creation? In July, 39% was for Nana-Addo, compared to 41% for John Mahama. Currently, Nana-Addo enjoys 51.9% of support when it comes to job creation, compared to 40.5% for John Mahama. Their choice of president: in July, 39.2% preferred Nana-Addo as president, compared to 41.3% for Nana-Addo. Currently, Nana-Addo has moved up 46.8%, and John Mahama has slipped backwards with 37.9%. Now let's look at first-time voters versus all-time voters' choices in the now all-time voters nationally. We have in July 55.4% of all voters saying the country is heading in the wrong direction for all-time voters, whereas first-time voters it was only 41.8%. Currently, all-time voters 48.3% thought the country was heading in the wrong direction, compared to 51.7% who think we're heading in the right direction. First-time voters are much confident in the direction of the country, with 57.4% saying we're heading in the right direction. This is a slight drop from July figures, which was 58.9%. Now, job approval rating, as you can see, for first-time voters, they've been quite backing of the president significantly throughout the period. In July, whereas 62% of all voters think the country approve the president, 65.9% of first-time voters approve the president. Currently, 55.4% of all voters approve the president, compared to 61.8% for first-time voters. There is a slight drop in the first-time voters numbers for Nana-Addo. Who did trust to manage economy? First-time voters versus all-time voters. If you look at first-time voters, 43.7% of them in July thought Nana-Addo would do a better job in managing the economy, compared to 40% for all-time voters. Currently, in November, 58.6% of first-time voters believe Nanado will do a better job on the economy compared to 51.4% for all-time voters. So he's still enjoying heavy support among first-time voters. With regards to John Mahama, with all-time voters, 38.5% said he was going to do a better job on the economy compared to first-time voters of 30.5%. Currently, 40.5% of all-time voters believe he will do a better job on the economy compared to Nanado. A slight improvement, but with regards to first-time voters, he's dropped from 30.5% in July to 28.1% in November. Education, yes, we have seen the same thing. Nanado is enjoying 53.5% from all voters and 60.1% for first-time voters. Whereas John Mahama is 39.1% for all-time voters and 28.7% for first-time voters. On job situation, Nanado now enjoys 51.9% for all-time voters, thinking he'll do a better job in creating jobs, compared to 58.9% for first-time voters. He still enjoy a big support among first-time voters when it comes to rating or job situation. Mahama is now 40.5%, with a slight drop compared to July poll of 40.8%. With first-time voters, Mahama is now enjoying 29.3% for first-time voters. This is a drop from 36.8% in July. Now let's look at the choice of first-time voters and all-time voters for president currently. All voters, Nanado enjoys 46.8% of all voters in terms of the swing areas, compared to 39.9% for John Mahama. For all-time first-time voters, it is 50.6% for Nanado and 27.5% for John Mahama.
Nima Fuzongo for Wata Tenate, Muna MSTV and radio, Abanima, Muna TV, Muna show, Muna share, MSTV and radio, Muna today, Muna Chikizongo, Babu so Dauda, Muna Chikizongo, Babu so Fada, Muna Chikizongo, Babu so Bola, Muna so MSTV and radio, TV. Radio, Nene, MSTV and radio. Muna Chikizongo. Dondo yara, dondo yara, dondo yara. Dondo yara, dondo yara.